And Palestinian leaders gather for a crucial conference in Algiers. This is a special West Coast edition of the CBS Evening News. I'm Bill Plant, sitting in tonight for Connie Chung. Good evening. Iraq's foreign minister tells reporters his country will permit the use of helicopters by UN inspection teams. But a UN source says the Iraqi reply to the Security Council was unsatisfactory. Meanwhile, a United Nations team has entered Iraq to search for nuclear weapons, which could put Iraqi intentions to the test. White House correspondent Randall Pinkston reports.
The world's eyes were on the Iraqi foreign minister today as he arrived at the United Nations to respond to demands that UN inspectors be allowed to use helicopters to search for suspected nuclear weapons sites.
We reaffirmed our policy of full cooperation with all international organizations, particularly the United Nations Security Council.
But when asked about the unconditional use of helicopters,
yes, of course, they can use helicopters.
What the foreign minister did not make clear was the critical question of whether the helicopters can be used unconditionally by the United Nations. The vagueness of Iraq's response will add fuel to pressure in Washington to keep up the tough stance against Saddam Hussein.
They always go up to the brink and then they back off. Now, he's not going to be any more forthcoming than he has to, and this isn't the last problem we're going to have with Saddam Hussein.
We have to insist that the United Nations resolutions be complied with. We should not go to war today. We should be prepared to go to war.
President Bush spent the weekend at Camp David working on the speech he will deliver to the United Nations. In that address, he is expected to give a strong response to the Iraqis. He is also expected to address Israel by calling on the UN to withdraw the resolution equating Zionism with racism. It would be a way to defuse a heated dispute with Israel over a $10 billion U.S. loan guarantee to help Israel build housing for the thousands of Jews pouring in from the Soviet Union.
I don't know where the $10 billion came from. It's already in the Israeli budget. I mean, they just assumed they were going to get it because they asked for it.
That peace process is very fragile now, and we must focus on that. But we ought not to link the process with the settlements.
While there may be differences over Israel, it's clear President Bush enjoys strong bipartisan support for whatever he decides to do about Iraq. So far, it is unclear whether the statement at the UN today will be enough for the U.S. to hold back on providing air cover for the UN teams in Iraq. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, the White House.
Palestinians are gathering in Algiers tonight for a meeting of their parliament in exile. The big question, should they accept the invitation to the Middle East Peace Conference, which the U.S. and the Soviets want to convene next month? They're the only group invited which still hasn't said yes or no. The PLO and its chairman, Yasser Arafat, are not invited to the peace conference, but they still command a veto over the Palestinians from the occupied territories who are welcome, and they may use it.
They don't know what this peace conference, in which their terms are being set by Israelis and Americans and other Arabs, they don't know what this peace conference can offer, and they might just say no.
Satloff argues that the PLO is increasingly irrelevant to the concerns of the Palestinians living on the West Bank and in the Gaza Strip, and that it lost a lot of credibility when it supported Saddam Hussein during the war.
Over the past 3 years, history has been moving away from the Palestinian direction, and there's no reason to believe it's going to move in that direction as time passes.
In meetings last week, Secretary of State Baker gave the Palestinians a U.S. letter of assurance, but the PLO says it's not enough. It demands that Israel stop building settlements before a peace conference begins, that the U.S. recognize the Palestinian right to statehood, and agree that Israel must give back the occupied territories.
What the U.S. must do to ensure Palestinian participation is agree in a memorandum of understanding to be specific enough on the question of national rights.
That isn't likely. So what happens if the Palestinians don't show up?
If there is no Palestinian direct involvement, there really is not a process.
If they don't show up, then the main focus turns to the Syrian-Israeli negotiation. I believe that all the other Arab states will still attend the peace conference.
Administration officials also expect all the other Arabs to attend, whether the Palestinians do or not. And that's why Washington hopes that they will decide to come to the peace table. Now there's additional pressure from Jordan, which, as Alan Pizzi reports, is struggling with a new wave of Palestinian refugees.
The only Palestinians here who are thriving these days are the brickmakers, catering to the thousands of their fellows who have fled or been driven out of Kuwait and the other Gulf states. The new refugees are cramming into the already overcrowded camps in Jordan to wait for peace. Mohammed Taha was forced out of Israel in 1948, fled the West Bank in 1967, and Kuwait when the Gulf crisis broke out. His message to the PLO and other would-be peacemakers is simple. I'd rather live in my homeland under a piece of tin, he says, than live like this any longer. A few streets away, elders from refugee camps across Jordan met to decide what to tell their leaders they want. They are the collective political wisdom of the Palestinian diaspora, struggling to reconcile their desire for peace and a pride that demands, as one put it, that Palestinians be treated as equals to anyone else.
I think the Americans, what they are trying to do is to divide the Palestinian people.
Some PLO factions have said they will reject any peace talks. They would rather lose everything than compromise. Many Palestinians are fed up with all sides.
The PLO is not going to do anything. I don't trust, even PLO I don't trust it. Because PLO now doesn't have any strong position to talk about.
The Palestinians' parliament in exile meets this week to decide how to deal with the peace conference proposals. And even their friends are telling them this will be the last chance to salvage anything from 43 years of struggle. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Bekaa refugee camp, Jordan.
Many American soldiers who served in the Persian Gulf came home with a lot more than memories. Jim Stewart at the Pentagon tells us why everyone is worried about some deadly souvenirs.
Captured on the battlefield by the hundreds of thousands, the temptation of so many weapons and war trophies proved too much for some GIs, and the results are now starting to show up at home in frightening numbers.
We have AK-47s, we have any number of other goods from night vision goggles to ammunition to radios to military maps. We've made hundreds of individual seizures,
including some that stunned even veteran customs inspectors.
We did have a parcel come through our Chicago mail center which was classified as golf clubs. When the supposed golf club package was opened up, it was in fact a bazooka.
Long before Iraq's defeat was certain, the Pentagon issued strict orders that no souvenirs be taken, but some troops clearly ignored the warning.
We have sent a message to the troops that they're not to do this, and in general that they've complied with it. There have been some exceptions.
Like this seizure of duffel bags shipped from the Gulf stuffed with weapons and even large quantities of plastic explosive.
It was enough to blow up a building, and it went in fact to the mother of this young man and was strictly, we are convinced, was for souvenir purposes only.
Human nature being what it is, federal agents are fearful that Persian Gulf vets who held on to their souvenirs may soon grow tired of the trophies and attempt to unload them on a civilian marketplace that is already choked with too much firepower as it is. Jim Stewart, CBS News, the Pentagon.
Still ahead on the CBS Evening News, the aftermath of the Utah hospital siege. And the man who would be czar, the Romanov heir, has new hopes of sitting on a Russian throne.
Did you ever put on a jacket that you hadn't worn in a while? Reach in the pocket and where'd that come from? Don't you just love that? Well, that's the same feeling you get with a Great Western checking account, because they pay higher interest than the major banks. Money just keeps showing up that you didn't count on. There's a Great Western bank near you. Give them a call. Boy, this is great. Hope this is my coat.
I drove that car last weekend.
The big Mercedes?
The S-Class.
What'd you think?
I think you have to sit in that big leather seat, put Mozart, maybe Beethoven on the stereo, then go out and drive in tight rush hour traffic, up some back mountain road, all night in a rainstorm, and then you'll know what I think.
Which is?
I think just maybe I drove the perfect car, or as close to it as anybody's ever come.
Our dentist gave us a reason to switch toothpaste.
Baking soda. He recommended it for healthier teeth and gums.
2 out of 3 dentists recommend baking soda for healthier teeth and gums.
And only one major toothpaste has it. Arm & Hammer Dental Care, the baking soda toothpaste with fluoride.
It leaves your whole mouth feeling clean.
So maybe you should switch to Arm & Hammer Dental Care too.
I mean, after all, it's got baking soda, recommended by 2 out of 3 dentists, and no other major toothpaste has it.
and try the fresh mint taste of Arm & Hammer Dental Care Gel.
5 inmates are dead following an unsuccessful prison uprising in western Montana. State corrections officials say a SWAT team stormed a cell block and rescued 5 prison guards unharmed. Officials did not immediately say how the 5 inmates died. A Utah man is being held without bail tonight, facing murder and kidnapping charges. His arrest follows the nightmarish siege at a hospital maternity ward. Bob McNamara in Sandy, Utah, has our report.
Richard Worthington led 2 lives. One, the devout Mormon and doting father of 8.
I've seen him play with his children and be very good to them.
The other, the hothead neighbor who'd threatened divorce, suicide, and murder.
I've always thought he was capable of being violent.
Police say Worthington's anger over his wife's surgery 2 years ago, preventing her from having more children, is what drove him to a Sandy, Utah hospital to find the doctor who'd done the surgery and kill him.
We got movement. You just closed the blinds.
Though Worthington never found the doctor, he did shoot and kill Nurse Carla Roth, a mother of 4. It was her second night on duty.
And it sounded like a muffled shot from inside.
For 18 hours, the gunman barricaded himself in the hospital with 8 hostages, 3 of them infants. And when police learned he had a bomb big enough to blow up half a city block, reporters were asked to limit ongoing coverage.
Please try to back off situations or reports about him or his family members.
Initially, when he came in the room, he said, "I'm going to die tonight, and you're all going to die with me."
Nurse Marge Weiler was there throughout the siege, delivering a baby at gunpoint.
She was almost born right before he came in. It went really good, and he basically left us alone.
The ordeal ended with all 8 hostages released unscathed after an emotional parting with their captor.
All of us hugged him before we left. We thanked him for letting us out. He felt bad that we were involved in this. He didn't want to hurt us.
I saw that he had some problems, but you can never second guess that this is going to happen. I mean, all of us have things in us that we're capable of, but most of us never do them.
Sadly, Richard Worthington did. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Sandy, Utah.
Senator Alan Cranston today became the first senator to announce that he will vote against Clarence Thomas's nomination to the Supreme Court. The California Democrat said the main reason is Thomas's refusal to reveal his views on abortion.
I want to know that he has a commitment to the Bill of Rights and its guarantees that individuals can make personal choices. He stonewalled on that general issue. I can't vote for a man who won't express commitments on fundamental matters like that.
The Judiciary Committee is expected to make its recommendation on the Thomas nomination this week. The Justice Department has a beef with the nation's grocery stores. Government investigators want to know why consumers are paying top dollar for meat while wholesale prices have tumbled. James Hattori has more.
Government antitrust lawyers are shopping for evidence. They've begun an inquiry into beef prices, how they rise and fall from the feedlot to the meat counter.
Well, as far as pricing, it's been fairly stable for the last 6 months.
And that, according to some, may be the problem. Simple Economics says beef prices should have been falling. A stampede of animals ready for slaughter has depressed the market for cattle in recent months. So much beef, ranchers are selling their animals at a loss.
It's been a pretty heavy drop. You're talking about, on feedlot cattle, $100 to $150 a head.
But according to government figures, retail beef prices have not matched that downward trend. The department's beef survey price of $2.95 a pound in January dropped to $2.88 in July. Over the same period, farm prices dropped about twice as much, 14 cents a pound, from $1.70 to $1.56. There's always a lag before farm prices make their way to the supermarket, but some wonder if price lagging has become foot dragging.
Under the scenario as we see it now is that the retailers would be profiting at the present time. Evidently, there has not been much of an incentive to pass along those savings.
They're holding the profit for themselves a little longer instead of passing the savings on to the consumer.
Here, if there is a glut, then nobody's really seeing anything from it other than just the people who are making the money off of it.
In a letter this month, Nebraska Senators James Exon and Robert Kerry asked government antitrust lawyers whether, quote, the level of competition within the retail food industry warrants examination. A Justice Department spokesman would only confirm an inquiry into beef pricing has begun, looking for anti-competitive behavior. Supermarkets say they aren't using beef to gouge customers, that the government's numbers are misleading because they don't accurately reflect promotions or specials, nor a consumer trend toward lower-priced cuts.
The bottom line is that the prices consumers really pay in the supermarket have not only fallen, but they've fallen much faster than the government numbers would indicate.
Retailers say consumers can look for lower beef prices in coming weeks. Government officials will be looking too. James Hattori, CBS News, Dallas.
Senate Majority Leader George Mitchell said today that he thinks he has the votes to pass a bill extending jobless benefits, but he may not have enough to override an expected presidential veto.
As your car ages, it may need higher and higher octane to perform like it used to, but there is a gasoline specially formulated to control this higher octane need while providing the highest level of engine cleanliness. Texaco System 3. With it, your car can run on the octane it was designed for. And run, and run, and run!
Still think all gasolines are the same?
Gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. That being so stated, on to the job at hand. Please take note. Listen carefully. To begin...
Every one of these executives flew to this important business meeting on a different airline, sampling various meals, beverages, onboard services, and other amenities. Can you find the one executive that flew here on Alaska Airlines?
Plus 6.5. Divide the whole quantity by...
Skull arrives in the mail. What clues could unravel the mystery and solve the case? 48 Hours knows. Find out Wednesday.
The controversial president of Soviet Georgia tried today to defuse a growing move to remove him from power. Opposition leaders called the president a dictator. He says they're attempting a coup. Jonathan Sanders reports.
The violence that has been threatening to break out for weeks across street barricades in Tbilisi, the Georgian capital, began taking a toll this weekend. Dozens were injured in street demonstrations. One man reportedly immolated himself as protests continued in this increasingly polarized southern republic. Civil war has been threatening this ancient country for weeks, the conflict centering on Georgia's first democratically elected president. Zviad Gamzahurdia is a former dissident who has been pushing hard to remold Georgia into his ardently nationalist image. But in the process, the Georgian president has crushed dissent and arrested his opponents.
I can say that their president Gamzahurdia is fascist. And they have 75 political prisoners.
The new strongman even managed to alienate part of the Republic's National Guard, which has defected to the opposition. Yesterday, dissident troops occupied the capital's television station. Tonight, they stand armed and ready to defend it against an assault by the president's forces. Gamzahurdia dismisses it all.
It is robbery. It is not democracy. It is anarchy, what this opposition wants.
Today, Gamzahurdia finally met with opposition leaders. They agreed to hold an emergency session of parliament to discuss their differences and to take politics off the streets. Jonathan Sanders, CBS News, Moscow.
Russian President Boris Yeltsin says leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan have agreed to talk about ending their long-running ethnic feud about a mainly Armenian enclave inside Azerbaijan.
It was awful. My car broke down and no one would stop to help. Worse, I was out of state, and the repair place insisted on cash. Oh, for a friendly face. Thank goodness I bank at First Interstate, and thank goodness for Anna Moreno. Without a hitch, she cashed my personal First Interstate check and helped me find a nearby mechanic to fix my car. Now that's extra mile service.
If you want extra mile service, come to First Interstate Bank. We go the extra mile for you, guaranteed.
Well, there's something about your look, that crazy way you cook. You got an attitude. There's something unrehearsed, the way you go head first. You got a taste for life that's right. Can't wait to take a bite. You got an attitude.
It's flaky, it's fresh, it's California-style blends from Schilling. Garlic with an attitude.
You got an attitude.
Those of you who have been reluctant to wear a hearing aid, Miracle Ear has more great news. If you have trouble hearing in noisy situations, the exciting Miracle Ear Clarifier may be your answer.
I used to dread going out with my friends. Background noise kept me from joining in the conversation. But the Miracle Ear Clarifier reduces background noise.
Call this number. Miracle Ear will send you a booklet on better hearing, plus a coupon for a free hearing test. Learn about all the good news from Miracle Ear.
A U.S.-based human rights group charged tonight that China has created a human rights and cultural catastrophe, in its words, in Tibet. Human rights complaints in Congress have been holding up legislation that would extend China's most favored nation trading status. The legislation is currently stalled in a conference committee. Bill Whitaker has more.
When the first Jeeps rolled off the line at Beijing Jeep 6 years ago, they were hailed by then Vice President Bush as a great leap forward in U.S.-China economic relations. Now the high hopes which brought Pizza Hut to Beijing are fizzling, dampened by a move in Congress to restrict or revoke China's most favored nation trade status, to pressure the lone communist giant to reform.
Given the recent tremendous changes in the Soviet Union, for us to be in the position of saying that the Soviet Union should not have most favored nation status, but China, which has not made these political changes, should have, is becoming less and less defensible.
China racked up a $10 billion trade surplus with the U.S. last year. Without most favored nation status, tariffs on Chinese goods would soar from the current 10 up to 50%. American manufacturers here say they would lose the most.
Communism is collapsing all through the world, there's no doubt about that, but here, basically, we don't mix business and politics. It's not going to mean a thing to the Chinese government except loss of face and loss of prestige.
Which, U.S. business people argue, will harden, not soften China's hardline rulers.
Political fallout is significant. The Chinese do not enjoy being bashed in Congress and the press every year about the same issues. It causes friction.
China and American businesses here are counting on President Bush's promise to veto any change in China's trade status. But congressional opponents say time is on their side. With an election year coming up, what politician, they ask, is going to stick his or her neck out for China? Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Beijing.
Yet another truce was declared today in breakaway Croatia after Croatian forces agreed to lift their blockade of Yugoslav army bases. Each side quickly accused the other of ceasefire violations.
So how many cars does Mercedes test crash every year?
Oh, I say about 100. You can never learn enough. Ever since we had it patented, we have been improving this concept of the energy-absorbing car body.
But other companies use the concept.
We have never enforced the patent.
So Mercedes gave away a basic safety advance for free?
There are some things in life that are too important not to share.
made by Siemens. That was then. This is now. Today, Siemens makes telephone switches that handle 1 million calls in a single hour, carry voice, text, and data on a single phone line. And at 23 research sites in America, the people of Siemens are developing technologies to connect us all to the future. Siemens, precision thinking.
You guessed it, Jill. Trout on a stick. Like all our new entrees, it's frugal, filling,
and convenient too.
Bravo.
Do you ever wonder if airline executives actually eat the food they serve you?
Croutons.
Not just croutons, Jill. Dipped in oil. Jumbo croutons. Takes up lots of room in salad, saving on costly lettuce. I like it.
At Alaska Airlines, our top executives eat our food twice a week because we won't ever serve you a meal we wouldn't enjoy ourselves.
A lifetime of memorabilia, jewelry, and artwork collected by the late Sammy Davis Jr. went on the auction block in Los Angeles today. Proceeds from the sale will help to pay the more than $5 million in federal taxes, which the legendary showman owed when he died last year. The death of communism in the Soviet Union has given new life to some figures of the distant past, members of the former royal family, looking for a role to play in the new Russia. Bill McLaughlin reports.
Vladimir Kirillovich has spent much of his 74 years in the French village of Saint-Briac waiting for news from home. The home Russia's communists ripped from his family. Nowadays, the news is good. Very good for this heir to the throne of Imperial Russia. Grand Duke Vladimir is the senior Romanov survivor, a Tsar in waiting, whose ancestors include Ivan the Terrible and Catherine the Great. A man whose family has called the Kremlin home for more than 300 years.
We never lost hope, but that hope, of course, seemed very remote up till very recently.
As the Bolsheviks closed in on Russia's royalty, the Grand Duke's father smuggled his pregnant wife to Finland. Their first cousins, Tsar Nicholas II and his entire family, weren't so lucky.
A most satisfactory emotion was when I saw that the Russian people went down into the street and stood firmly to defend their freedom.
What will take communism's place is still murky, but Russians who once hid their blue blood now celebrate nobility at meetings of the newly formed Royal Society. The theme song, Long Live the Tsar. A tune the Grand Duke sometimes hums as he goes through a growing flood of mail from home.
From Latvia. This is from Georgia.
The common message, why not come home?
The monarch could be like a supreme umpire who could smooth over differences between different parties.
The Romanovs know that their hope, their dream, is an unlikely one. As unlikely, they say, as the fall of the Berlin Wall, the unification of Germany, and the destruction of the Communist Empire.
The chief interest, which I have a possible return, would be to be of some use to my country. That was really our job, what we were there for.
The Grand Duke believes the long odds against the Romanovs are getting shorter, that he and Russia may go back to the future. Bill McLaughlin, CBS News, Saint-Briac, France.
And that's the news. I'll see you again later on the CBS Sunday Night News. I'm Bill Plant in New York. Good night.
I'm Harry Smith.
And I'm Paula Zahn. Tomorrow, an exclusive interview with the new Miss America.
She'll tell us how she escaped the pain of an abusive boyfriend on CBS This Morning.
This is CBS.